Welcome to Become a Provider, a weekly podcast inspiring leaders and parents to be servant leaders and providers. I'm Justin Thomas, a business consultant, health coach, CEO, and author. Together, we'll explore servant leadership through interviews with leaders that I respect. Plus, I will share lessons from my life and career trying to model the ultimate provider, Jesus. Whether you're an executive, community leader, parent, or simply want to make a positive difference, this podcast is for you. Let's begin. This solo episode is going to concentrate on the state of Become a Provider. The show, the direction, the vision, what I'm excited about moving forward, some of the tweaks that I'm making. So let's get right into it. As you know, this is a weekly podcast where I interview one guest one week, and then the following week I have one of these solo episodes. And the whole idea here is I am on a mission and on a journey of being a healthy provider. That's what I want to do. That's who I want to be, the identity I'm going after. And for me, what that looks like is trying to model the ultimate provider, Jesus, as a servant leader in my life. And it's almost like a case study that I'm presenting to you guys where I've got different businesses that I'm stewarding or that I own or that I'm part of. I've got clients that I coach. I've got a family I'm trying to lead. I've got my own health and wellness goals running and more. So how do you do all this, and how can I do this in a way that is a healthy provider mindset? I've shared my journey on these solo episodes, but I also wanted to spotlight this podcast and to let you guys know that I take this very seriously, meaning the podcast, I want to be high quality, I want to be high content quality, and as much as I can without extending myself beyond what I should extend it for this passion project. So to that end, one of the investments I've made is to have a podcast coach where she gives me feedback on the show and coaching on how I can move forward in a sustainable way of growth. One of the challenging questions to me was, who do I serve? And so that's one of the tweaks that I'll be making that you might see in upcoming episodes, is that I've come up with a new tagline for the show. More so than that, an identity of who I'm reaching. Now, I welcome everyone to continue to listen and to support the show. I hope you find immense value. I think you will. The theme of being a provider is front and center, but what I'm doing is adjusting it to the following. So here it is. Become a provider, encouraging Christian men to love and care for their families as they love and care for their bodies. That's the new title of the show. Become a provider, encouraging Christian men to love and care for their families as they love and care for their bodies. Now, why this slight tweak with the subtitle? Well, it clearly identifies who I'm trying to reach out to, men of faith that want to serve their families well and want resources in how to do that, and also care about their physical health. So this comes from Ephesians 5:28 that I recently reflected on a solo episode, and it just really landed with me, saying, husbands, love and care for your wives as you love and care for your bodies. So this is part of the work that I've done for years, actually, in the C.L. Thomas Fellowship nonprofit, is to lead small groups of men around this theme of being a provider. And we look at a variety of different habits and read books about it together, encourage one another. And the podcast has gone in a lot of different directions. And like I said, it will continue to have this general theme of being a provider and interviewing people with inspiring stories and examples that we can all benefit from. But my heart is, how can I help fellow men who might be like me, that have a lot of projects and goals and aspirations in life, and they need some encouragement along the week to get to where they want to go? I hope that this show helps them. I'm really excited. I've actually interviewed my next guest will be Coach Megan. She is a life coach, a kingdom life coach, as she calls it. So it comes from a Christian perspective. And it was really great to have her on the show with this new focus of what advice she would give to men to provide better for their wives. What does she see when she's coaching women leaders and the needs that they have to blossom, and what gets in their way? Like, do guys get in their way? Do their husbands get in the way? What are the obstacles? So I like this focus on the primary audience of encouraging Christian men love and care for their families as they love and care for their bodies. I'll share my story, bring on some guests, and we're going to tackle this theme together of being a healthy provider. So Here's some other things that I wanted to share with you as well. And these are some upcoming topics that we will be going over with. So the description of the show, the full description is: if you want to provide like Jesus and become the best servant and leader for your family, then you found the right show. Learn from personal stories and inspiring interviews. You may be asking questions about your life, family, or career like the following. So these are the different themes that you'll be hearing in future episodes that I'll be sharing about, as well as bringing on guest experts to share their perspectives on questions like the following. 1. How do you encourage your family instead of overly criticizing them? 2. How can a man provide financially for his family? And 3. What are ways a man can provide for his family beyond the finances? 4. How can you live a more intentional life? And 5. What are some servant leadership skills that can help you lead your family? And 6. How do other successful leaders implement servant leadership? And 7. How can I provide for others like the ultimate provider in Christ? And 8. What are the practical ways of providing for myself so I do not experience burnout? So that's just a handful of questions that I've put together that have come up through various conversations that I've had with friends, and it just helped me identify this is who I need to reach out to, this is who I can uniquely help, and hopefully wives will listen to this and it will inspire them, and those that aren't married yet will listen to this to learn how they can become a servant leader for their friends and family today, and then maybe in the future for their spouses. I wanted to highlight, there were 4 conversations that I recently had, and it was all in a week. It was with a 20-year-old guy, a 30-year-old guy, a 40-year-old guy, and a 50-year-old guy. And so I just thought this was a great experience, almost a gift, that I had a chance to connect with each one of these men and to hear some different questions that they had, which informed me for what I just shared with you all. And so I just wanted to reflect what I heard from these men to also give you an indication of where I'm coming from with this show and the types of themes that we'll be tackling together. So if you're a 20-something, you might be having these questions like my friend shared with me about: who do I marry? What should I be doing with my career? How much effort should I put towards that versus other things? Where should I live? The location? All these questions front and center in my 20-something-year-old friend. Then my 30-something-year-old friend was reflecting to me about the fact that he is married with children, and he found himself criticizing more than encouraging, just over and over again, one of the challenges he was having. And then also he was beginning to consider, are there chapters in my life that are closing now? Like, I had a dream to do X, but I don't know if I have time for it or not. Then my 40-something-year-old friend, high-achieving professional, but now he wants to concentrate on himself and also on his family. So he's in counseling, receiving help around that. My 50-something-year-old friend, he's in a leadership position in a variety of organizations, and he shared with me he's under the most stress he's ever been in his life. And he also shared how he's valuing relationships above all else, willing to walk away from deals if it compromises the relationship or anything to do with integrity. So as you can see, similar themes between the 20-something, 30, 40, and 50-something-year-old male, but different seasons of life as well. So once again, this just all came together recently through my podcast coach. Thank you very much, Kristen. My friends who I've had a chance to connect with one-to-one, spanning all those decades of life, and then just my own personal life and career of realizing I am very imperfect, and there's a lot of goals I have, and there's a lot of things that I'm doing well in, and there's some things I need a lot of work in as well. So I want this podcast to be purpose-driven, something that helps to encourage others, as I mentioned, to encourage Christian men to love and care for their families as they love and care for their bodies, and also something that is sustainable for me to continue doing as well, where I feel like this is on point for what I should be doing with my time and attention and resources. So they become a provider podcast and show carries on with a new focus and some upcoming themes that I think will be great for many of us to hear, and hopefully timely So feel free to give me comments, questions about this direction, especially as you hear future guests as we tackle some of these themes. So that's the short, but hopefully amazing solo episode for this week's Become a Provider show. We'll see you next week with Coach Megan will be joining me. So be sure to tune in for that one. Bless and protect. Cheers. Thank you for listening to the Become a Provider show. If you've enjoyed today's episode and want to continue your journey in servant leadership, I invite you to sign up for my free weekly newsletter, Always Provide. Head over to alwaysprovide.org to subscribe. Each week you'll receive insights, inspiration, and practical tips to help you grow as a servant leader and provider in all areas of your life. Before we wrap up, I'd like to remind you that this podcast is a ministry of the C.L. Thomas Fellowship, a nonprofit organization created to honor my late father, an exemplary provider. The fellowship is dedicated to providing free resources that inspire parents and leaders to emulate Jesus as a servant leader and provider. Your support helps continue this important work. If you found value in today's episode, please consider sharing it with a friend or leaving us a review on your favorite podcast app. Until next time, remember, we're all called to be providers. Let's make a positive difference by serving others. Keep blessing and protecting.